Why shouldn't you rely on ChatGPT to make financial decisions? So in this video, I'm going to talk about ChatGPT and why you shouldn't use it for financial decisions. Now, before doing that, you can go over to adamfire.com, especially if you're an expat or a high net wealth individual. Now, I've avoided talking about ChatGPT too much until now. There's loads of videos on YouTube where people have looked at the accuracy of ChatGPT. So I haven't really done a video, well, I haven't at all done a video about it until this point. But over the weekend, a family member, for a laugh, sent me some messages on WhatsApp, which was connected to myself. And you can see some of the messages on the screen right now. It's asking like, who am I, and all this kind of thing. Now, to cut a long story short, some of the information is accurate, like writing on publications, my general kind of business area and things like that. But certain things are completely untrue. Like, for example, saying fired wealth management. I don't know if there's a fired wealth management somewhere in the world, but if there is, it isn't the name of my company. So even though you could say in some ways it's quite impressive as an AI tool that it maybe got 60 or 70% of the things correct, it also got my nationality correct. There were certain things which are just factually incorrect, and there were also certain things which are clearly estimates. So, for example, I think it said I had 100 million of assets under management assets under management in 2021, so 2 years ago now. As a private company, there's no way they can know that for sure. I guess that was just an estimate that they came up with. And that kind of leads me to other things. I had a bit of a play around with the tool, and here is what I detected. When it came to certain things, it was pretty good. So, for example, let's say a publicly listed company. If you said, how much did Apple make in revenues in 2021 in America, or something very specific for a publicly listed company, it's fairly good when it comes to things like that. Likewise, if you wanted to ask, what were the best performing technology funds in 2020, or what were the best performing ethical funds, ESG funds in 2021, something like that would be fairly good because that's black and white. However, where it's not good is, number one, anything which is private information. So a private company, for example, unless a private company has been audited or something like that, you can't expect it to know about private companies. Number two, when it comes to private investments, it can't know by definition how those are performing. So, for example, it's not going to know what are the best performing funds, full stop. It will know what the best performing listed funds are. A closed fund is not going to know about things like that. But here's the reality about ChatGPT, which I think is the key thing. When it comes to finances, people don't fail usually because of a lack of knowledge. People fail because of things like emotions and lack of planning and so on. So in the same way there are many unhealthy doctors and nurses, there are plenty of people who know a lot about finance who do the wrong thing, because it's human nature. If markets are falling, you panic. It's human nature. If everybody else is buying the next hot stock, you want to buy it. And even if you can stop this sometimes, it will probably happen to most people at some stage in your life, you kind of fall prey to these kind of emotions. So when it comes to a human advisor, whether it's a legal advisor, a financial advisor, a wealth manager, I don't know, a company advisor, whatever it is, I think the biggest benefit of an advisor is actually that kind of human aspect. So, for example, for me, when I go to the gym, I do better when I've got a personal trainer, because I know I've got to meet that trainer at 10 a.m. downstairs. And the reason that works is because A, the appointment is in the diary, so I have to cancel it. And usually when the appointment's in my diary, I only cancel it 3 to 5% of the occasions. Number two, when you work out with someone else, you're accountable. And number three, it's convenient. If I had to go an hour away, I'm probably not going to make it all the time. But if it's downstairs or something like that, or next door, I'm probably going to make it. So the reason why working out with a trainer can work is provided you're working out near your place in a walkable distance, or especially if it's in the same apartment building or next door to your house or whatever, it's working because you're working with human nature and not against it. Whereas if you just work out by yourself in a home gym, or especially if you plan to get a gym membership, which is 30 minutes away by car, you're probably not going to go to the gym that often, or you're going to give up after January. And likewise, when it comes to finances, in reality, it's not just about technical knowledge, it's about having someone who can hold your hand as well, and things like that. And I think it's the same when it comes to other kinds of services as well, like legal advice and so on. But beyond that, I think another thing which is quite key is I think the way these AI tools are going in the next 5 or 10 years is they will be most useful for people who have got technical information already. So for example, if I was writing an article today about financial information for expats and high net wealth individuals, and I was using ChatGPT, it could be very useful because I can use that information, but I could spot any kind of BS, if that makes sense. I can spot if something's likely to be inaccurate because of existing knowledge, in the same way that if a native English speaker uses Grammarly, which is an AI-powered tool, it's very effective because it can see certain errors, like the errors we all make when it comes to punctuation or whatever, but sometimes it throws out things that are clearly wrong, and a native speaker can actually see this. In comparison, if you have no knowledge, let's say somebody has no knowledge of English and they use Grammarly 100%, it could be a disaster potentially. And likewise, if somebody has no knowledge of finance, it's harder to kind of see the woods from the trees. So I think the way these kind of tools are going in the next 5 or 10 years is, let's say if a company has 10 writers right now, let's say a legal services company, they put out a lot of content, they've got 10 writers. You know what, in 5 or 10 years, or maybe even 3 years, maybe they'll only need 2 or 3 writers, and those writers will be using AI tools and checking it and things like that. I think that's the way that these things are going, but I don't think they're going to completely replace the human interaction. And when it comes to finance, the same. But where I do think there's a huge benefit potentially, of AI tools in finance is when it comes to investment funds and ETFs. Because right now you've had this active and passive debate for a long time. Do you use passive funds or do you use active funds? And then there are some in the middle, which are called smart beta funds. So basically, passive funds just track the stock market. Active funds charge more money, but they try to beat the stock market. Whereas smart beta funds, they keep the cost low, but they try to be a bit more smart. So for example, they'll track the US stock market, but they'll try to kind of tilt it towards small caps. I think in the future, what could be quite interesting is actively managed funds, which traditionally have been expensive and haven't always outperformed in certain markets. Some of those could have a bit of an advantage maybe if they use AI in the right way, because you could have an actively managed fund that only charges like 0.4, 0.5% per year, but because it's using AI in a smart way, it could get an advantage, although obviously by definition, if everyone uses AI in the future, that advantage will go. But I think especially in frontier markets, emerging markets, places like the ASEAN market and so on, it could be quite interesting if some actively managed fund managers get an advantage at least for 3 to 5 years by using some of these tools. So those are certain things to look out for. But basically, I wouldn't use AI tools without having certain guardrails. We've seen now with ChatGPT, it is impressive in many ways, but a percentage of the information is inaccurate, a percentage is just guessing, and a percentage is accurate. When it comes just to basic information, which is factual, like how much did the S&P 500 go up by in 1999 or whatever, yes, it's going to be very accurate, but for a lot of things, it's going to be very hit and miss.
Depends on every person's individual goals, how much money they want to invest, how long they want to invest. And I did not have at all the feeling from any bank with which I had contact with that they were interested in these things. Mm-hmm. Whereas with you, it was from the very beginning obvious to me that you had experience in these matters and also were interested in what I wanted to achieve.
Anyways, I'm very, very pleased and positive to say that I believe I've picked the right one. The results in the last couple of years have overreached my expectations by far. And I see no reason why it should not continue. Of course, I can highly recommend him as your financial advisor for now and for the future, because hesitating is missing out.
So I'm investing a lot in the Middle East market, but the amount of returns I'm getting from there is very low as per the amount of returns I'm getting from the investment portfolio which you made for me. Obviously, the best result in market right now is Adam.